Hi guys, and welcome to A Dog's Soul. Have you tried working with rewards or positive reinforcement and are not quite sure how that should work? Today we're going to talk about how positive reinforcement and rewards work and what that means for your dog and how we can use it. I'm Anita, I'm a professional dog trainer. I show you how to build a trusting relationship with your dog to overcome fear and reactivity and have a good time together again. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. And now, stay tuned and have fun. Alright, so you might have noticed that there are two huge camps out there when we look at dog trainers. The quote-unquote balanced dog trainers and the quote-unquote positive dog trainers. First things first. We are talking about the quadrants of learning here. So I'm trying not to make it too technical, but in short, we have 4 ways to learn a specific behavior in that concept. So this is always compared with emotions, and the emotions behind it are relief, joy and happiness, fear or pain, and frustration. Those are emotions of the quadrants. So we have those 4 emotions to work with when we try to teach our dog something. And yes, there is more than that, but this is the main component of every dog training and learning in general, if we want that or not. Because we are not the only ones that have an effect on those things, because everything in the environment can trigger some kind of emotion, right? I know this is still very technical, but let's see an example. We walk our dog down the street and see another dog. The appearance of the other dog will trigger an emotional response in us and in our dog. It could be joy because the other dog is a buddy of our dog, or our dog just likes every other dog, and he's happy to see another dog. It can also be frustration because he immediately wants to run up to that dog and greet him. And he can't because we have a leash attached, right? It can also be fear, of course, if our dog isn't that easy going with other dogs. Or if there is the first leash correction from us, right? And it can be relief when our dog realizes that this is not his arch enemy, but just a regular dog. And our behavior can affect the exact same dog in exactly the same way. So if we react with click and treat, we are adding positive emotions, joy, happiness. When we add corrections, we trigger fear or pain, depending on the correction. If we are leading the dog away from the other dog because he's scared of that dog, we are providing relief. And if we walk closer and closer and closer and our dog is trying to get to the other dog more and more and more, we provide frustration. So this is how these emotions can work, right? It can be every stimulus in the environment that just triggers a response and also that makes a behavior more or less likely to appear. So whenever we punish a behavior, it's less likely to appear again or not as intense. And this is actually how punishment would be defined. It's only punishment if the dog is showing a specific behavior less. So, for example, if our dog is walking down the street looking at another dog and we use corrections that make the dog stop looking at the other dog, then we have punished the behavior. And if we are click and treating for looking at the other dog, and the dog will continue to look at the other dog and then look at us, we have rewarded the behavior. We have used reinforcement. So that's, I know, a little technical and stuff, but it's important to understand because it is the absolute basic of what we are doing when we're using positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement cannot be the only thing we use, even as positive-based trainers and reward-based trainers, because we cannot avoid punishing stimuli in the environment completely. It's not possible, all right? And sometimes even we happen to punish a behavior, not intentionally, but because it just happens, right? Or because the dog associates something in the environment with us, if we want it or not. It can just happen, right? But we are using the other quadrants consciously as well. So it's not just positive reinforcement. That's not possible. But every trainer decides what he wants to base his training on. And it doesn't matter what we are focusing on, we have to use everything. So again, it doesn't have to be consciously or voluntarily. It can just happen that something is in the environment that affects our dogs. And it doesn't matter if we use positive reinforcement, positive punishment, so corrections, or the other two quadrants, negative reinforcement and negative punishment. We have to have a good timing doing it, because our dogs have a very limited time after behavior they show when they will associate whatever is coming next to that behavior. For a rule of thumb, we could say up to a maximum of 3 seconds. That would be very long though. So the closer the consequence is to the behavior, the better it is connected. So if we, for example, walk down the street again and our dog spots another dog, he looks at the other dog, and in exactly that moment we click and treat, the dog will associate that with looking at the other dog calmly. That's the important part in that scenario. If we wait till the other dog is gone and then we click and treat, the dog will not associate looking at the other dog calmly with the click and treat. Same thing goes for corrections. And there are, of course, things the dog does that are rewarding in itself because they feel good, right? So that would be, for example, barking. Barking and also aggressive behavior feels good. It's an outlet, it releases tension, it just feels good. And of course, the consequence of the behavior is very often something the dog wants, because otherwise he wouldn't show that behavior. And that's what we can use with using positive reinforcement. So we're talking about motivations. If the dog is lunging, barking, growling at other dogs, it is to increase distance. If frustration is the only reason behind the behavior, then the original motivation was to get closer. But if we are already at lunging, barking, growling, we are already at distance increasing behaviors. So positive reinforcement in that case would work best if we provide with exactly that to the dog before he uses his own strategy. Okay? So we could, for example, click and treat for looking while we walk away. If we stay in the same position, the treat alone will not be rewarding enough to keep the dog from escalating when the other dog gets closer, because our reward is in a conflict with the punishing stimulus of the other dog, because the other dog is making our dog uncomfortable, and our treat would make our dog happy, but the discomfort is stronger than the happiness from one treat. I hope this is halfway easy to follow, but it's like if we are afraid of spiders and we walk into a room where there is a huge spider on the wall. If somebody just holds a chocolate cookie under our nose, we will maybe have a short burst of joy, if at all, but the fear of that spider is greater, and if the spider is crawling towards us, the emotions we have because of that are a lot stronger than the emotions we get from the cookie our friend is holding under our nose. This is exactly the same thing the dog experiences when he's escalating on leash. So we have to always consider what's in the environment, how strong is that. Also, if we have two positive things. For example, our dog spots some kind of wildlife in the distance. He stops for a moment, and that's the moment we could click and reward. So mark the behavior and reward that he's still standing, right? Because before every unwanted behavior, there is something we can at least accept. And now we have a situation where the dog can decide between two rewards. One reward would happen when he chases the deer because it feels good, incredibly good. And the other one is whatever we are offering. So if the dog has learned previously that whatever we are offering is not that exciting, but chasing something is extremely nice, what will he do? If there is no leash attached, so he can actually experience it, he will decide for the one thing that feels better than the other, right? And this is where things get really tricky, because we have to estimate how to reward to really let it be a reward. Because if we are just shoving some kind of food into the dog's face while he's scared of something, that's not a reward. The best rewards are actually things that really fit the emotion of the dog in that moment and the motivation, provide outlets whenever they are necessary, and are as strong as whatever would be self-rewarding. That's not always possible, and that's where training gets really tricky and where we have to watch a lot of other things like distance and reward history and stuff like that. That's also always a factor, and it's not as easy as it seems on paper. And of course, there is the issue of timing. We have already talked about that, but I want to talk about one more thing, that is the marker signal. Because if we want to work with rewards, and not every reward can be perfectly timed on its own. For example, our dog is 10 feet away from us, looking at another dog, and we have a very short time span between looking and tensing up. We have to catch exactly that tiny little time span with our reward. And if we have distance between us and our dog, it's almost impossible, except if you're using a marker signal. That's why the marker signal is such a superpower, because it gives us the opportunity to capture the exact moment our dog is doing something nice. And it gives us time to reward after that, because the dog already knows, oh, that was right, and the reward is coming. Then he is expecting it. Okay? And then we can offer whatever we want. We can offer running together, we can offer increasing distance, we can offer food, we can offer search games, we can offer tags, we can offer meeting another dog, we can offer anything that's rewarding for our dog. And that's the beauty of it. What positive reinforcement does to our relationship is that we are concentrating on the good things. And that's always a boost in the relationship dynamic towards the positive and towards the good stuff. Because it is so easy to slip into the negative and focusing on the problems and focusing on everything that goes wrong. And this increases tension in the relationship. With positive reinforcement training, it's not only fun, it's also helping the relationship on a good path again. Because there can only be trust if both sides of a relationship know that the other one will not do something to them that's hurtful, scary, or overwhelming. That's why this is so important. And if you want to introduce a marker signal today, go to the description and click the link. You can get a free guide for a marker signal. And if you would like help introducing positive reinforcement to your training with your dogs, fear or reactivity issues, there is a link in the description to book a free call with me. I would love to meet you. I would love to chat about your dog and see how I can help and how I can support you on your journey to a trusting relationship and fun together. That said, I wish you a wonderful time with your dog. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see each other next time. Bye.